Welcome back to That Dad Guy. Today we're doing something a little bit different, a little bit something personal, public service announcement, if you will, a little bit of family history. We're going to go in and talk to my father. Now, my father is 91 years old. He'll be 92 in about 2 weeks' time. He has vascular dementia, which means that he knows the words. Sometimes in a healthy state, you could go from point A to point B and find out a word, whether that be blue, ball, whatever the word happens to be. For his case, he sometimes has to go a long about way in order to come up with the word, so sometimes it takes him a little longer to come up with it. Anytime that there is something stressful in his life, whether that is a mini stroke or heart attack, or even surroundings around him that have caused him stress, his dementia worsens. If those things don't happen, he stays plateau. He doesn't have much of a short-term memory, but his long-term memory is great. There are some exceptions where he puts stories together that maybe not are 100% his, but we'll give him some lenience with that. So we're going to go in, we're going to talk to my father about what it's like to get a little older.
If you've come here to find out about what it's like in this kind of place, I'm not a good person to talk to, because I found that my memory is very sparse, and I can remember things of long ago, but I can't remember things that happened in the last day or two.
You remember how old you are?
No. I can...
How old do you think you are? If you had to guess.
Something like 90.
Very close. You're 91 now, and you'll be 92 in about 2 weeks. All right. Do you know when your birthday is?
It's coming up.
Yep. Do you know what month?
I'm really waiting for the weather, because we haven't yet got to the summary part of so I've got to get there before I get my...
You think your birthday's in the summer more months?
Yes.
Okay, so your birthday's in May, so it's still into the spring. Do you remember what city we're in now? Where do we live?
I don't remember the name of it, no.
Okay, Riverview.
Riverview, yeah.
Okay, do you remember the city you were born in?
Yes. England, and the town was a city.
Yep.
And it's called... No, it's gone.
It was gone. Okay, you were born in Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
All right. So.
And I can tell you things about Chelsea.
Okay, what can you tell me about Chelsea?
I can tell you that when I was born, it was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, city in the world.
Well, London would be, right?
Huh?
London would be.
London?
Yeah, Chelsea's a suburb.
No. And and the town was peculiar as a town, because it was built many years ago when they didn't have cars, and
right.
So it was built to walk around, or if you had a horse to ride on, you could get around that way.
Right.
And so what they did is they had the city, which was the capital of the country,
Right.
and it did all the head office you'll find in the country are there. So it's so it had a to get around it. You can't take your car in because there's no place to put it. So people don't have cars, mostly who work in the town. They come in by
Public transportation?
yes, by other means, but mostly they don't live there.
A lot of people commute in on trains and buses and things like that to work in the city, but live outside the city, is what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So what other things do you remember? Do you remember what my name is?
No.
No. Do you remember how many kids you have?
I can usually work it out.
Okay, you try to work it out.
4, 5.
You have 4. First time, you got it right. You remember how many boys and how many girls?
2 boys.
Yep. How many girls?
2.
2, that's right. Okay, so there's 4, so 2 boys and 2 girls.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember what your wife's name is?
No.
Do you remember what your dad's name is?
No.
No. Okay. What do you what comes to mind? What do you remember? What
can I've been boasting that I had a long memory.
You have a long memory, so you can remember things from far away, but not necessarily what's happened for breakfast.
But not what I had for breakfast.
No.
No.
So what's an early memory that you can remember?
Okay. At the I remember that when I was young, we went when I was living in London.
Yep.
My father worked in the bank.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of the bank?
No.
Okay.
But the bank had their head office, of course. It had to be in London.
Right.
But it had sub-offices in many of the towns, in fact, many places in the world. And on this particular time, we were on holiday, and we were staying in one of the bank's sub-offices.
Okay.
And they had a place where we could, the whole family could have a holiday. While we were there, there was a fear that there was going to be another war. There had been one quite recently.
Right.
Because my father was in it. I don't remember that. That was before my time. But I can remember that we were on holiday and staying in one of the sub-offices.
Right.
We were living right across from the places where we could go on And
Like the beach?
the beach.
Okay.
And so I was enjoying it. We could just walk across the street, and there was, but we had to go back to London. My father did, yeah. So he was checking with downtown, and they said, well, things look like you might be able to come back now, but we're not sure. You better stay where you are for the time being.
Had the war already started?
But the war hadn't started, no.
No, okay.
So the Queen, I think it was the Queen we had then.
Was the king, but...
It was the King.
King, yeah.
He went across to talk to the leader of the opposing force,
Right.
which were.
You remember what
German.
his name was?
They were. No, I don't remember his name, but.
Do you remember what he looked like? Did he have any special features on his face?
No,
Don't remember a mustache? No?
No.
No, okay, okay.
But anyhow, our leader went over to talk to their leader,
Yes.
and
The Prime Minister, right?
the Prime Minister, yeah. And when they came back, she said, it's good news. We've got peace in our time.
Okay.
And but the truth was that we were at war within very few days,
Right.
because this leader had made a mistake, or had overestimated our ability.
His ability.
His ability. I was, anyhow.
Remember, his name was Neville Chamberlain.
Never tell me.
He was your Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And Adolf Hitler was the leader of Germany. Yeah.
Hitler is, I mean, the name is, when you say it, you know, it's a very familiar name.
It's a very familiar name, yeah. You remember that name, don't you?
Yeah.
He had a big impact.
But when we were there, in a very short time, my father had to go back to work.
Right.
But they were in this town that we lived in, or the city. They decided that they had to get children out of the city because it likely was to be bombed.
So you were one of the kids that had to be evacuated out of London.
Yeah.
Where did you go? Do you remember?
Yes. Well, I remember it was. We didn't want to take what the government provided, which was they put you in a village fairly close to London, but in a safer place.
Right, but with strangers.
But instead of that, yeah, among strangers. So my father and mother decided they should look for a place where she could go as well and stay with the family.
Right.
And so we went to live with a man who had a boat. He was, and he did that for a living.
He was a fisherman?
He was a fisherman. And in his house, he had his wife and another lady. I presume it was her sister.
Okay. Were these relatives? Were they relatives of yours? Or strangers?
They weren't, no, that they were, to us, they were strangers.
Okay.
But my mother was related.
Okay.
I don't really know exactly how, but anyhow, we came to live with them. I'm not sure that they were very enthusiastic, but they knew that it might be what we had to do in wartime.
Right.
So we lived with them for about a year.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, my brother and sister.
Do you remember their names?
No.
No.
Anyhow, I was the kid out of the three.
You were the youngest, yeah.
And we stayed there until the enemy. They lived on the coast, of course, which made it a place where you play. It was a playground made for me.
Right, get to play on the beach.
But it also was likely the place where you would want to land your troops.
Right.
And so it was not immune to being bombed.
Okay.
And my father said, well, if you're going to be bombed down there, you might as well be bombed up here.
So did you move back to London?
And it took us back close to London.
Okay.
It was on the outskirts of London, so he could live there,
Right.
and go to work. And so that was the beginning of the war for us.
You remember what year that was?
No.
No.
Oh, but it was a long while ago.
It was a long while ago, yeah, 1939.
Anyhow, the man who was leading the country,
Neville Chamberlain.
Chamberlain, got the sack.
Yeah, do you remember who replaced him?
He was replaced by another man. No.
No, Winston Churchill?
Winston Churchill.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember it when I was there. And the town, the city,
Yeah.
continued with their plan, which was to take all the kids who were going to school, or all of them if they could, but I mean, it wasn't a complete thing, and take them out to the country. And so they said, one day you bring to school what you can carry that you want to take, because you are going away and staying in another house, and they're going to look after you until the end of the war.
Right.
So one day they had to, and people walked to places, they didn't go in cars.
So you couldn't. So did you get taken off again, or did you go live with family?
No, they took me out before the
announcement.
Happen.
Right.
And my family, which was another three, and we lived out there for about a year until the enemy started bombing that town,
Right.
because they wanted to prepare it to land there. If their aim was to come over and take over England.
Did your grandparents live with you?
To do?
Your grandparents live with you?
No.
No.
They stayed in London.
Did their house get bombed?
Yes.
Yeah. And where did they move after their house got bombed?
The house wasn't destroyed, but it was badly damaged, and my grandfather, came to live with us. This was a year later.
Okay.
But my father's house was destroyed because he was living with his parents.
While he was working.
While he was working, yeah.
What other memories do you remember? Do you remember things past the war?
Same who?
Do you remember anything else more current than the war?
Yes.
Do you remember when you came to Canada?
Yes. I can tell you why we came to Canada.
Okay, why did you come to Canada?
When I was about 16, I was required to go in the forces.
Yes.
For 2 years. And at the end of 2 years, I could be recalled back to service until I was 60.
Okay.
I never was recalled, so I've been fortunate. But I had this period of 2 years where I had to serve in the forces, and I chose to be in the Air Force.
Okay. Were you a pilot?
The idea was that I would be a pilot, but there was a little mistake made. I said I had a choice. I could be a pilot, or I could be the guy who sits next to the pilot and tells him where to go.
Navigator?
The navigator. So I chose to be a navigator, but all the fellows who agreed to be a navigator or a pilot were sent to, when we got into the forces, the first thing we did was go to a place where we could see if we could learn how to fly.
Right.
And we learned to fly an old-fashioned plane, which you start in the front. You have a guy in the front who pulls down the
propeller.
Yeah. And then you start up the engine and take off, and hopefully you come back and land. And so all those fellas, I suppose there were probably 20 of us, whether they wanted to or not, were sent to see if they could fly one of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And
was that in England, or was that somewhere else?
This was in England.
Okay.
And those that were able to do the flying were sent on a course to be a pilot.
Okay. Were you sent on the course to be a pilot?
Yes, and I had a choice. I could go to Canada to learn how to fly,
Right.
or I could go to someplace in
Africa?
Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose to come to Canada because I was interested in Canada and you know, the United States. I didn't know anything much about them.
Right.
But anyway, that was my choice. And when I got to Canada, I was interviewed by a man and to see whether I could go on this course. And he said, if you were a Canadian, I wouldn't accept you for this job.
Why is that?
Because your eyesight is poor.
Okay.
I could see to walk around, but it wasn't very good. But anyhow, he said, they sent you now, so we'll send you on the course.
Okay.
And I landed up in central Canada,
Ontario.
to this course. And
Was it summertime or wintertime?
winter, it was in, and when we landed in, when I flew over, in the colony, no, the part of Canada that's newly joined.
Quebec?
No, not Quebec. Anyhow, maybe we don't.
That's okay.
So,
All right.
that's the last one to join.
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. Yeah. And
So you flew from London to Newfoundland and then on to Ontario.
Yeah. Yes. And when I looked out the window, because we landed there,
Yep.
people came out that looked like Eskimos,
Okay.
and maybe they were Eskimos, right? But they came out to put
Fuel in the plane?
yeah,
Yeah, so they're all dressed for winter?
and they're all dressed for winter. I began to think that going to Canada might not be just a good idea.
Okay.
But it was January before I actually got flying.
Were you successful at flying?
So they said that I could do it because I'd been sent, and I've done one. I had done the preliminary flight test, and so I was sent to a base in Ontario, and started by Korea,
Right.
and did all right, but soon found out why they had this thing about my eyesight, because the first thing we had to do is to find out how to take off and how to find your way around and how to get back.
Right.
And I could do that more or less all right. But one of my trips, the man in the back of the plane who came with us and made sure we.
Your instructor?
Yeah. He turned off the power when we were about through the clouds, so we're quite high, and he turned off the power and say, now we're going to do a forced landing, or and so
you had to land without instruments.
I had to land it. We didn't actually land, but we were going. So I knew enough to say, well, you've got to point the nose down so that you keep up speed.
Okay.
And you can circle down and hopefully land somewhere nice.
Right.
But after a while, we were circling down. You'd see now, look at the ground and find a good place to land on. And then I could see the ground, there was ground there, but I couldn't see any detail.
You couldn't see if it was flat or not?
Yeah, and so, well, you want to land on, in a field.
Right.
Or,
not in the trees.
And look around to see if there are any things that you don't want to land on, you know.
Like people or cows?
Yeah. And so you need to pick out the detail, and while you're circling down, you can change the direction a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we were circling down, but I said, I can't see the detail. You know, I can see that there's a ground down now, but I can't tell you what's there.
Right.
So the man said, well, he stopped. He put the power back on, and we landed in the usual way. And he said, now, when you're flying on your own, never try that, because you need to know what you're landing on.
Right.
Closer to, anyhow.
So did you fail the course then because you couldn't do it?
So the report was, don't do that, but carry on with the course.
Okay.
So I carried on with the course for about a year, and quite enjoyed it. But at the end, they said, well, what is this guy going to do when he goes back to England? And they inquired, or I don't know whether they knew, but they said that next thing is to learn how to fly a jet aircraft.
Right.
Because they wanted to be, anyhow, they wanted to train people to be an attack plane, which goes after
the enemy.
Incoming plane.
Did you learn to fly a jet?
So
or did they send you home?
No, they said, well, I've been here about a year then, and they said, well, you could, we could send you on a course now to learn how to be to do what you wanted to do in the first place.
Right, navigator.
A navigator. And so I said, well, I've been here, I'm halfway through my 2 years, and I might as well go back to England.
Okay.
And so they sent me back to England, and
What was your responsibility for the last year?
I had various jobs.
Any of them flying?
No,
No. Okay, so that was the end of the flying.
that was the end of the flying.
What do you remember after that, when you came to Canada for good?
Okay, well, when I came to Canada, I came to, I don't remember the town,
Halifax.
Halifax. And
What did you do for work?
And went to a job that sold went to people and said, you give us money now, and
Insurance company.
insurance company.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I want.
So they give you money now, and if something happens, you give them money back later.
Yeah, and that's what I did, but I never did any selling.
No.
To people. But what I would do is go to talk to the people who did the selling.
Right.
Because that was what I had expertise in.
Yes.
And,
Do you remember where you met your wife?
And I had yes, this was in Halifax.
Yes.
And she was also in the studying mode. She was at a hospital.
Yes. What was she studying to become?
And she studied to be a nurse.
Right.
And succeeded.
Yes.
I guess she still is a nurse.
I guess once a nurse, always a nurse, but she's not practicing anymore.
Yeah. So, I've only worked in two places, in Halifax.
And then where did you move to?
And then things. Well, I had an opportunity to come to another town.
Mm-hmm.
Where I could continue with the what I had been doing.
Yeah, still working in insurance.
Yeah, still working in insurance.
For Blue Cross.
But they were starting a new branch, and so they wanted somebody who could be really starting like a new company. But
do you remember the name of the city?
They said it is
No, Moncton.
Moncton. And that's where I finished up my working.
Yeah, you worked there until the end.
But I had an interesting, and I had several years before, I'd been interviewing a man in Ontario about what he did, and he finds jobs for people.
Mm-hmm.
And at that stage, we were looking for people, but he remembered me and said, well, it sounds like a job for you. You're not going to be starting from scratch. You'll be starting with a company, an existing company, but a new line for him, the company.
So he recruited you to move from Halifax to Moncton?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you remember after you retired? What did you do after you retired? You were about 63 or 62 at the time.
What do I do?
Yeah. What were your hobbies?
I collect stamps.
Yeah.
Uh,
How did you get your stamps? Do you remember?
well, people got old and knew that I collected them and sent me stamps.
Okay. And you had people you traded with around the world that you mailed? Yeah. What else do you do? I can see something in behind in this picture. What else do you like to do other than collect stamps? What's over on the table? What's on your desk? Behind you?
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed doing...
You can look at it if you want to remind you what it is. What's the word? What do you put together on your desk?
Yeah.
You want to turn your head and look at it?
No, I know what it is.
You know what it is? Okay.
I know what it is, but I don't...
Can't remember what the name of the word is?
No.
Puzzle.
Puzzle. Yeah.
Can you still read?
Can I read?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any difficulties with it?
Yes, because I don't remember what you call things.
So you can read the words, but you don't remember what the words say after you've read them?
Yeah.
Right, okay. And can you tell time?
Yes.
What time is it now behind me?
And it says 11. Took 4. So it's... I'm not quite sure what that is.
So 11:14.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1-4 makes a 14. Do you know what your condition is that you have?
What condition?
Yeah, what disease do you have?
Oh, I've had lots of...
No, not all the diseases. What's the one that affects your memory? Do you remember what it's called?
No.
No, dementia.
Dementia.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes, that
Yeah.
sounds familiar.
So both you and Mum have it, but you both have different types.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a really good memory of things from long ago, but you have a hard time coming up with the words of things that are happening right now. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Are you happy at 91 years old? Are you looking forward to your 92nd birthday?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate in that I've got my family is looking after me.
All right.
And have done since really and since I retired. I guess I could look after myself and the family, but two of my family have taken over the complete so that I've got a son who looks after principally money, things, and make sure that the bills are paid and that and another daughter who looks after our things as illnesses.
Right. So you don't have to worry about anything then. You're well taken care of.
No, that's what they tell me, that I shouldn't I shouldn't worry about anything. And that's a pretty nice situation to be in.
There you have it, a little sneak behind the curtain. That was my father. Thank you so much to Dad for being able to sit down and talk a little bit about his life and to showcase what it's like to get older and deal with what life brings you. He's going strong, and I'm really happy that he's still around to be able to do things with. My mother's still around too, but like I said in the video, her dementia is slightly different. She's got Lewy body, and so her brain is strong, but her body has become weak. So unfortunately, it's not the sort of video for her, but kind of shows you the two different aspects of getting older. Now, I'm gonna put it a little bit out there. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you leave positive comments, you share with other people, and you put the notification bell on. It's hard to say that in a video like this, but I still want to put it out there because I do a bunch of different things, and it's not all hobby related. It is my life related, so you get to come along with me on the adventure. So thanks again to my father for giving us a little sneak peek of what's happened in his life and what's continuing to happen in his life. For the rest of you, have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Bye.
I'm going to tell you my idea of life. When you're born, you're helpless. You completely need somebody to provide for you. As you get older, you learn how to do things for yourself. And when you get old again, you start going to school. And at school, you start to learn how to make money and how to look after yourself and maybe a family. And then as you get older, you find that it's more difficult to make money because you're not so good at doing things that you used to do. And eventually, maybe around 60, that you are not able to do that, and so you have to leave your job, and then you start the process. Is the other way around, and you start doing less and less for yourself and require somebody else to do the work until you come to a place like this where you're totally in the hands of somebody else.